Hello everyone, and welcome possibly back to Suspicious Silence Paranormal Reviews. Today, I'll be reviewing Congress? No, don't exit the video. I was just kidding. Well, sort of, but I will end up roasting them, so that'll be fun, so make sure you stick around for that. Now, on May 17th, 2022, the US Congress held a hearing about UFOs, or UAPs if you want to be a glowy about it. The first one held publicly in 50 years. While that seems like it would be a good thing, and that some new light may be shown on these objects that move around in the sky faster and more erratically than anything we could possibly build in at least this lifetime that literally millions of people have claimed to see, the whole thing was basically just a masquerade. Now, I know I'm late making this video considering the hearings happened a few weeks ago, but I'm okay with that. It gave me a chance to sit back, take it all in, and ask myself, so what exactly did we get from all this? And spoiler alert, it wasn't much. And while I'm actually not surprised, I am still disappointed, and I will tell you why in a moment. So, in this video I'll cover what was actually touched on in those hearings, and I'll also give you a guide, best practices, if you will, for capturing and reporting UFO activity. First of all, I just want to say that I have seen UFOs before, once when I was 16, and then my other sighting was over a decade later when I was 28. What I saw, I can't be 100% sure to say it was extraterrestrial because it was nighttime on both occasions, and they were both basically just lights in the sky. Very fast moving and physics bending lights in the sky, but those are stories for another time. I guess like this video and let me know in the comments if you want to hear about those stories in depth. I'd be more than happy to share them if you're interested. My point in telling you this is that I saw something that I still can't explain, with other witnesses with me both times. And even after that, people that I told, and even friends of mine that I told, either didn't believe me or just straight up looked at me like I was crazy after I told them this story. Even when I was young, I was no stranger to the paranormal, as I used to watch shows like Sightings and Unsolved Mysteries, the good one, back in the day, so I knew that I saw something strange that I couldn't explain, and that there were other people who saw things similar to what I saw that were ridiculed in a much bigger spotlight and audience than I could ever have in my life. And going through what I did go through taught me at a very early age to have an open mind when it comes to other people's claims with the paranormal, because I know how it feels when people don't take you seriously at all for something that you know you saw and something that you know you experienced. One of the main reasons I think people tend not to believe others when they hear stories like these is because there's a "I'll believe it when I see it" type of skeptics, and then there's the ones that everything has to have some sort of scientific explanation for everything, even if they can't explain something that they themselves experienced. And by the way, if there are skeptics out there watching this video right now, hello, welcome to Suspicious Silence. You're just as welcome on this channel as everybody else is, and in fact, I encourage you to share your thoughts and comments on my videos sincerely. I hope that any skeptics watching this don't take this the wrong way, but when it comes to things like UFOs, I think that skepticism might be nurtured by governments and by media starting at a very early age to not take these things seriously, or to not even entertain the thought of it at all. And I think that the government is partially actively responsible for this. Although I am a believer in UFOs as I've seen them myself, I understand that there are some straight up frauds out there, and there are misidentifications that happen pretty often as well. It's well documented that Venus, the third most luminous object in our sky, just behind the sun and the moon, legitimately gets a ton of calls to police stations every year by people claiming that it's a UFO. I'm not saying that these things don't exist or happen, but it really feels like the US government, Congress, and the military are just straight up trolling us now. And yes, I will get into the hearing itself now, sorry. I know I usually save my rants for the end of my videos, but we got it out of the way early this time. In case you've been living under a rock, 3 videos were leaked to the New York Times of alleged UFO encounters by Navy jet pilots, along with communication audio as well, by a former Pentagon official in charge of unidentified flying objects. He was jaded because he felt like the Pentagon wasn't taking his program seriously enough, so that's why the videos were leaked. In 2019, the Pentagon confirmed that these leaked videos were indeed real, and what can only be described as a media shitstorm ensued. So, it took the Pentagon 2 years in 2019 to admit that it was indeed leaked footage. Then, a little over a year later in 2020, the Pentagon released the footage themselves. Their response to everyone who was wondering what these were and what they knew was just a collective, oh. So, fast forward to 2022. Congress had their first public hearing about the phenomenon in 50 years. And like I said, none of this surprises me at all because the hearing was droll, uninformative, and nothing short of a desperate plea for American citizens to report possible foreign aircraft and drones. And that is important, but why messily plop it in with a phenomenon that your citizens and your own pilots are reporting constantly? Lumping these things together tells me that you aren't taking the UFO phenomenon seriously at all. I sat and watched all 90 minutes of this mind-numbing nothingness so that you don't have to. You're welcome. This hearing was just a way for the military to strategically dodge questions that the American people and people around the world have been wanting actual answers to for decades now. It's sad to me that they keep feigning ignorance about this whole issue because even if they haven't been able to establish contact or pick up wrecked otherworldly or whatever they are craft, that they're hiding something, and it's just painfully obvious at this point. These things have been seen hovering near military ships, whizzing by military planes, but anyways, they're telling these pilots and threatening them with, God knows what, not to open their mouths about a thing that they see when it comes to these reports of UFOs. If they really didn't know what these things are, they would be begging the public for help identifying these things and would have been taking these reports more seriously decades ago. Like I said, I sat through all 90 minutes of this hearing, contemplating the turn of events in my life to actually lead me to watch a congressional hearing online, and I honestly can't suggest that any of you do the same unless your melatonin tolerance has gone through the roof and it's just not working anymore. So, I compiled some tidbits from the hearing that are actually noteworthy, and I will comment on them as well. And by comment, I mostly mean roast.
From the very beginning, we took these reports very seriously. We instituted a data-driven approach to the investigations where we could collect as much data as possible and use all available resources to analyze and make informed decisions on the best ways to address our findings. Our main objective was to transition UAP efforts from an anecdotal or narrative-based approach to a rigorous science and technology, engineering-focused study. We are all curious, and we seek to understand the unknown. And as a lifelong intelligence professional, I'm impatient. I want immediate explanations for this as much as anyone else. However, understanding can take significant time and effort. It's why we've endeavored to concentrate on this data-driven process to derive fact-based results. And given the nature of our business, national defense, we've had to sometimes be less forthcoming with information in open forums than many would hope.
Yeah, no doubt you've been less than forthcoming. You don't admit anything unless the videos are leaked about it, and I believe that there would be no public knowledge whatsoever of your entire department had those videos not been leaked in 2017.
And if you're able to answer this in this setting, are we aware of any foreign adversary capable of moving objects without any discernible means of propulsion?
I think I would, without discernible means of propulsion, I would say that we're not aware of any adversary that can move an object without discernible means of propulsion. The question then becomes, in many of these cases where we don't have a discernible mean of propulsion in the data that we have, in some cases there is likely sensor artifacts that may be hiding some of that. There's certainly some degree of something that looks like signature management that we have seen from some of these UAP, but I would caution. I would simply say that there are a number of events in which we do not have an explanation. When it comes to material that we have no material. We have detected no emanations within the UAP task force that would suggest it's anything non-terrestrial in origin.
A common theme in this hearing, if you've been unfortunate enough to have to sit through all of it, is a UAP task force saying that their department doesn't have information because their department is still brand new and isn't on their data centers yet. That's highlighted earlier in this hearing when one of the congressmen asked if the 1967 purported case of a red orb was seen over a US nuclear launch facility and disabled 10 nuclear ICBMs was in the UAP task force database, when they gave him no, it's absolutely not, and even acted like they've never even heard of the case before. So, on that note, let's talk a little bit about transparency.
Just over the last 3-4 months, I think that the intelligence community and the national defense apparatus have disclosed more information on various events than it has in probably the previous 10 years.
Yeah, like I said, you're only releasing this stuff now because it's already been leaked by verified former high-ranking officials. That doesn't make you honest. That's like having your spouse catching you cheating, but then telling them, well, it wasn't just one person, here's the names and phone numbers of 2 other people that I've been banging on the side too. You don't get honesty points for doing that, so, don't break a hand jerking yourself off about being open and honest, alright? Now, you knew there was going to be some weird questions from Congress here, so let's see how weird they actually get.
As we talk about, and I would say there's a lot of what I would call amateur interest groups that are involved in the UAP field. My question is, when there are unsubstantiated claims or manufactured claims of UAPs or kind of false information that's put out there, what are the consequences for people that are involved with that or groups that are involved with that?
So one of the concerns that we have is that there are a lot of individuals and groups that are putting information out there that could be considered to be somewhat self-serving. We're trying to do what's in the best interest of, one, the Department of Defense, and then two, what's in the best interest of the public.
So just taking that a step further, so that misinformation, false narratives, manufactured, so what are the consequences? Are there legal consequences? Are there examples that you can give us where people have been held accountable by this misinformation or disinformation?
I can't give you, any examples where somebody's been legally held liable for putting something out there, but
well, I guess what's the deterrent from people engaging in this activity?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that answer. That's something that welcome the dialogue with Congress to talk about that with the members who help legislate those laws.
Listen, fraudulent UFO sightings are bad for the community, but you really don't care about that. You just want to make sure that people aren't misreporting enemy spy drones and the like. So you want laws to be passed about this? This is the dumbest, biggest possible waste of time and money I've ever heard of in my life. What about the people who just misidentified it and aren't doing it fraudulently? Are they going to be criminally investigated? What about all the fake Bigfoot and sea creature sightings too? Are you going to throw them all in jail too? Stupid. Dumb. Next clip.
Up, but I do, I do believe that it's important to show that the Department of Defense has, we have character, and we're people just like you, just like the American people. We have our inquisitiveness. We have our questions. We want to know what's out there as much as you want to know what's out there.
Okay, a few possibilities here. One, you're lying and just aren't telling us.
I don't know what it's called. I just know the sound it makes when it lies.
2, you're not lying because other government agencies are lying to you. Or 3, you really don't know anything and you are just being honest. Personally, I think you're somewhere in the 1.5 range myself. A huge and pretty much the only focus on this hearing was military personnel seeing and reporting these UFO sightings. But what about us normal civilian folk?
Do we have
from
any
those sources?
reports non-military?
Yes.
Thank you. That's my question. And do we need to put out protocol for civilians that may be in that arena, like through FAA? Do you think that would be appropriate and helpful?
I think standardized reporting, without a doubt, is key to helping us get to ascertain what some of these are.
I think it would be important as well.
Wow. Okay, so nothing. Is this guy actually running for Congress? Because that is some S-tier question dodging right there. Neo couldn't dodge bullets better than this guy dodges questions. Well, fear not, fellow viewers, because I will give you a proper and very well-respected source to report your UFO sightings, as well, like I said, as some best practices, if you will, to ensure that you're able to give the most detailed report possible. Big huge disclaimer before I start this list: if you see anything strange and feel like you might be in any danger whatsoever, contact your local police department or emergency services right away. I know it sounds like a given, but I don't want anyone saying on the news that Suspicious Silence told them to contact MUFON when there was a neighbor's drone hovering outside their bedroom window. Now, let's get into a little guide I compiled for documenting and reporting UFO activity. If you have any suggestions or think I missed something on this, which I probably did, let me know in the comments section, and everyone else give it a thumbs up so it can be easily visible to everyone who might be curious. Alright, number 1. If you want to report a UFO sighting, contact MUFON. Let me say that again because that's how important it is. If you see a UFO and want to report it, contact MUFON. The Mutual UFO Network is an international community of passionate members who actually compile a database of all sightings and abductions and release them, and you can report them anonymously if you like, to researchers all around the world and attempt to discover the true origins of this phenomenon for the good of the entire planet, and they really do mean it when they say that. Reporting your sightings to the government, while not harmful I suppose, will essentially do nothing for the cause. It will just most likely sit in their data center and get discarded months or years later when it's discovered that their attitude is just, if it's not a Chinese or Russian spy drone, toss it into the pit of oblivion because we just don't care. So if it's a sighting, report it to MUFON. If you believe that you've been abducted, then definitely contact MUFON instead of the government, because if you call up the US military and tell them you think you've been abducted, I guarantee you will not like the response that you'll get from them. Honestly, I shudder to imagine what would actually happen in a case like that. If you have a UFO sighting and aren't able to record it, that's okay. Note the time immediately if you can. Try to note if you can hear any noises, and watch the UFO carefully to track where it's moving exactly in the sky. Use your best judgment to try to get its altitude and speed, even though it can be hard to do when you're estimating it on the ground. Write down these observations immediately afterwards so that you don't forget or mistake any details. It's exciting when you're seeing one, so it's important to have it in writing immediately afterwards so you don't get any of the details jumbled up in your head. If you are able to record a UFO, say out loud on the video your location, the time, and the date. If at all possible, try to get any sort of landscape features in the shot, such as trees or buildings, while holding your phone or the camera as steadily as possible. This will help determine speed and altitude of the craft. This next part is very important. Export the RAW, that's .raw, picture or video data from your phone or camera. Think of the RAW file format as the negative of a film camera. The RAW file contains every single thing that your phone or camera sensor picked up for the picture before it was processed by your camera's filtering software, so it's much easier and better to analyze. Back it up on a cloud or preferably a hard disk so that there are multiple copies of it. There are many guides online on how to extract raw data from your phone and cameras, and they vary by model, so a simple Google search should be enough to show you how to do it. And then, of course, send the info and raw data to MUFON once you've done those steps. It's up to you if you want to post a video online. You'll hear people tell you that it's good for the community, but there's people out there who say that it's bad for it. I personally don't believe that myself, but I'm just saying that I've heard the opinion before. A good place to post footage is a UFO subreddit, but try to post a link to the raw footage there as well, especially if you want opinions as to what you recorded is really a UFO or not. As a side note, putting these on your personal social medias like Facebook or Twitter may have people, family, friends, coworkers, start to raise some eyebrows at you, and you might actually face some ridicule for it. It's messed up, but it's possible. Just to warn you, it can happen. So, with all that said, that's about it for this video. Basically, Congress has no intentions of telling us anything, but we really shouldn't be surprised by that because that's the way it's been for over 50 long years now. If you like paranormal content or found any of the info in this video helpful, feel free to subscribe and like and leave a comment, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter too. I just set it up about a week ago and I still have no followers on that, so I'd appreciate it if you go over there. I'll be giving video updates and sharing and posting other paranormal news on there as well. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, creeps.